All right. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for coming for this 2-hour workshop on Power BI. As Sanjay knows, Sanjay had done his internship with me last year. I used to conduct a lot of open sessions after COVID happened, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I used to do it because I had a lot of free time. But then later, once work started coming back, I sort of stopped doing it, even though I love to do it. And I hope that this is a good way to start the same thing once again. So this is my first open session that I'm doing after a very long time. While I teach at a lot of schools and I teach a lot of corporate clients, this is a different sense of excitement altogether. So I'm going to share my screen, and some of you, I think, already know me because I can identify your names. You have either purchased my courses or you have followed me on LinkedIn. But I'll take 2 minutes to tell you what I do, to give you a sense of the type of clients I handle and the type of projects that I work on. My name is Havish Madhvapati. I run my own proprietorship firm called Havish M Consulting. And what we do is primarily Power BI and Excel. So it's a combination of spreadsheet modeling and data visualization, as well as business intelligence. The proportion changes. So the most recent client I had was Adani Power, which was about 80% Power BI and 20% Excel. Next week, I'm starting a training with a government setup. It's a National Rail Transport Corporation, where I'm doing 100% Excel. So it shifts between Excel and Power BI, but then about 80% of the work I do is between Excel and Power BI. I work on different languages, so there's a little bit of work I do on Tableau as well. One of my client works on Tableau, so I do some data visualization trainings for them. And I have some interns who are helping me build JavaScript web apps on Excel. You can go to my website and, there's a lot of content that is available here. So there are workshops I've conducted at different business schools. So you can find that here. These are complete lectures. So these are 6-hour, 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour, 14-hour lectures that I've taken for different business schools. If I had to pick one, I think the SRCC one in July is very detailed. It's a 40 hours training, including Excel, PowerPoint, Power BI, Tableau. It's a lot of content. You have to spend a lot of time on it, but it's really good content. Then I did a training with XIMB as well. That was again Excel, Power BI, Tableau. In terms of the sort of clients I work with, I work a lot with the energy and power sector with Adani Power, Transmission, Sterlite, and Indicrit. I work with 3 of the big fours, even though now I don't work with them. But in the last few years, I've done a lot of work for them. I've done about 250 trainings for PwC and EY. D. Shaw is an active client, investment banking firm, and I do a lot of trainings on Power BI, only Power BI for them. I did a training for Tableau as well. Now they have shifted completely to Power BI. Other than this, you can see there are all sorts of clients. So I don't have any expertise in one particular industry, but my expertise is in the tool, Excel and Power BI, but I can work with any company with those tools. My work has been featured in a bunch of different places. I have worked a lot with Business World, and I continue to work a lot with the Times Group. So with the Times Group, I've been invited to conduct some 80 masterclasses. I have a workshop next month on corporate finance and valuation. While I'll not be taking care of the finance portion per se, I'll be doing financial modeling on Excel. So this is one I did in December. There's one more that is happening, I think on the 26th of this month. In terms of B School engagements, I have worked with 16 of the IIMs. I have taken workshops, guest lectures. I judge a lot of competitions there as well. And if you're interested, you can go to my website and read about this. On podcasts, I have people who I invite. These are people from various sectors and in various functions. And I talk to them about building a career, becoming an entrepreneur, things to keep in mind, their learnings, their tips and advice, typically for students, but I guess everybody will have some value that they can derive from it. So the most recent podcast I did was with Maniraj Juneja. Maniraj is an IIT Delhi engineer. He did his MS from MIT, and he ended up starting a firm that builds um, displays for stores. So when you go to a big bazaar and you see different types of point of sale assets, gondolas and FSUs, that is what he does. It's a family owned business. So we had this very interesting discussion about how he did an engineering from IIT Delhi, went to MIT, and then ended up doing something completely unrelated to engineering, right? Tejas is a faculty at Narsi Monchi. He is also a BTech MTech from IIT Bombay, and we had a discussion about being an entrepreneur and the good and the bad about that journey. And finally, on dashboard samples, I think this is the part that should excite most of you. These are dashboards that I have created on Power BI and on Tableau, right? So the one that you see right now, this has been done on Power BI. The one that you see below this, these are all Power BI dashboards. They're all of different types, obviously. And then these are on Tableau as well. With the Power BI one, there is some problem I'm facing, so I can't show you the interactive dashboard. It doesn't seem to load for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I mean, this one is working, but some of the others are not working. But let me show you the Tableau ones, right? I mean, essentially, Tableau and Power BI are comparable. What I can do here as a visualization on Tableau, the same thing I can do on Power BI as well. So this is one I created very recently. What I have here is, some countries in Asia Pacific, and I can just click on any one country, let's say India. It shows me all the cities or all the states in India. And then if I take my mouse over any one of the states, I can see the cities as well. So it's a granular data going from the aggregate level of country to the state to the city as well, like this. Then just a few days back, I made this one. I did this for a client, so I like the design. I thought I'll make one for myself as well, which I can show to all of you. A very simple dashboard. You have a bunch of different countries here. You just click on a country and it sort of changes the chart. Nothing very fancy. This one is a little fancier. This has a few formulas behind it. So I can select any market. So let us say I select Europe. And then within Europe, I can select the sales threshold. For example, I just want to see sales above 8,000. So you notice how the line is changing to 8,000. And then the HH, which is high, means that these are customers in the top quadrant. So customers who are high on sales and high on profit as well. On the other hand, LL would be the customers who are low on sales and low on profit. So this is a dynamic dashboard in the sense that I can, sort of move the profit and the sales threshold up and down, left and right. Now, where do you find these dashboards? If you want to go back and download and have a go at it. Now, what I've been doing is, I was planning this open session for a while, and this is what I have done. Let me explain what this is. I'll also share the link with you, in fact. I'll do that right now. Hold on. So let me just share the link with everyone. It's on the chat window. Now, I have put a lot of effort here, and I'm very proud of what I have made. It is still work in progress, but I think everybody will really benefit from this. Let me explain what this is. So what I've done here is I have compiled all the notes, all the learnings, all the links that I find useful in one place, right? It doesn't seem like much, but when you zoom in, you will realize that there is a lot of content, okay? Let me walk you through it. So if I look at business analytics and visualization, right, which is the center point, I have spoken about principles, So one is you have to learn the tool and the formulas and the software, but what are the basic principles you follow in designing a dashboard, right? Which consulting firms around the world would be following. Let me just open a few of these for you. So I'm going to select this laws of user experience, right? And you can see that this is a beautiful link. And what it does is it explains to you some best practices that designers follow even though it has been done typically from user experience, which is for mobile applications and software, the same things can also be applied to dashboard designing. For example, if you look at the Gestalt principle, the Gestalt principle is the most famous principles in dashboard design. If you Google it, you will find a lot of content around the Gestalt principles. So it's based on psychology, and it talks about how you use colors, shapes, sizes, icon, dissimilarity, similarity, congruence, right? It all sounds very theoretical, but then when you start reading it, you will realize that whatever you see around you actually is based on Gestalt principles, right? So that is the link that I have given here. Let me show you something else. I think you will really like this. So look at the Miller's law. Now, Miller's law states that the average person, right, who's going through your dashboard, it might be your manager or your client, can only keep 7, with an error margin of plus or minus 2, items in their working memory. Now, this is very important because what it says is that if your dashboard has a lot of things in it, it has a lot of clutter, what will happen is that it will be very difficult for the person to understand everything. So ideally, we suggest not to keep more than 5 things on a dashboard. Now, I know it sounds very surprising because you might say, isn't the purpose of a dashboard to keep everything in it? No, that is not the purpose of a dashboard. That is the purpose of a report. A report means it's comprehensive, which has everything in it. A dashboard means you're focusing on the KPIs. You're focusing on what the user requires, and that's it, nothing more than that. Then we also talk about cognitive bias, where we say that, for example, the zygonic effect, which means that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed tasks. It's a very interesting sort of theory which says that don't give all the information to the user, because the moment you tell the user everything, there is no sense of excitement. They don't feel that there is something coming after it. So if you tell them the business has grown 28%, end of story. You have told the client the business is growing 28%, then what is there to be told after that, right? But the moment you say that business has grown, but we did not meet our internal benchmark, something like that, then it is more exciting because you're able to build up that anticipation, right? So don't provide complete information to the user, give it in pieces, right? Because if you just put that number in the front, then everything else that you're creating is a little pointless, right? I don't want to get too much into detail. I already have, but I just wanted to show you the amount of effort I've put here. So I have put all these things together. For example, if you look at galleries, a lot of people ask me, Havish, where do I find ready-made templates and dashboards, right? Look at this. I have collected everything here. So this is Tableau. This is Power BI. This is the Financial Times visual vocabulary. This is Reuters, Information is Beautiful, Economist, Nightingale, Flowing Data. Let me just open some of them for you to understand what I mean. When you're creating a dashboard, the worst mistake that you can make is to do it from scratch. Nobody does that. There's no point in doing it from scratch, right? So whenever you're creating a dashboard, you should always remember, please use existing reports readily available out there. Let me give you an example. So if I go to The Economist, just see the quality of these infographics and dashboards, right? And the best part is all of this is available free of cost. So The Economist has something called graphic detail. And what they do is they talk about, these are journalists who are writing this, but then it's not just about the written content. Look at the way they have visually presented it. Let's take an example. Let me come to this one. Extraordinary wildfire events are happening more often, right? Now, if you look at this chart, you will realize that it's nothing very different. Like it's like a bar chart, which we already know, but it also looks a little different to a regular bar chart that we create on Excel, doesn't it? So what they have done here is the way they have kept this max and min value here, to show that range. That is what makes it exciting, And it looks like a regular bar chart, but they have put it together. They have removed the border outline, right? And they have put this very light gray color for you to understand how it is. And this is called an annotation. So they have also annotated it so that you are telling the user exactly what to focus on. And when you say that the user's attention has to come to this point, why is it that the user's attention is coming to this point? Because of this little bit of annotation that has been given in it. Now, why am I showing this to you? The idea is that when you look at something like this, you will realize that this looks great and you will try to recreate it, right? So before I go to Power BI, I just want to give you one example. I came across this. So I have a YouTube channel, right? And I was going through my analytics. I mean, I hit 3,000 subscribers recently, and I was just generally curious to see where are the subscribers coming from, and which videos are doing well, which videos are not doing well, like that. And I came across this. How do I show it to you? Hold on. Your channel and
sir, go to studio. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I go to YouTube Studio and I saw this, right? If I go to analytics here, I saw, no, not this one. I want to show you this one. I saw this and I really liked it. Now, what I liked here was the colors. It's not that standard white background with blue and orange and yellow, right? Which is how we see most dashboards. And I told myself I want to recreate it, right? And not with this data. I used a dummy data set for that. So what I did was I created this on Power BI. I'll show you the Power BI report only. I mean, since the training is on Power BI, I want to focus more on Power BI. And I will show you the live dashboard that I've created. So this is the one that I created, everyone. Let me go full screen as well. Do you see this? So I used that dashboard as an inspiration, and I used the same color and the same theme and the same styles to make this. Like even the smallest of things. Let me just put it left to right so that you can compare it. Do you see how when I hover my mouse, it shows me a black box with a blue number on it? Look at my dashboard, everyone. Do you see this? I mean, the idea is not to copy 100%, but to get as close to it as possible. I love the way they had this symbol. Do you see this check mark that is coming in? I also did that. And trust me, to do this, there were formulas required behind the scene, right? I also like the way that when I click on the See More button, do you see there is a pop-up window that comes up? Let me show you full screen. Hold on. See this. So when I go to the See More button, there is a pop-up window that comes up that shows me more details. I also wanted to do the same thing. So what I did was I created something like this. So when I click on See More, do you see how there's a new window that opens up and I can see more granular data about my sales? Okay. Also, what I really liked was this. I like this tooltip, this black box that is appearing, because the tooltip is not just a number. It is giving me a lot of details. It's giving me some text, some numbers as well, right? Like this. So I wanted to recreate it. So what I did was I created this. So how it works is that if I take my mouse over any one month, it tells me the monthly sales, which is 58,000. It tells me the lifetime sales. That means from the first month of business till date, which is 1,690,000. YTD sales, so for the current year, 224, and the YOY growth, 26%. So if I compare April to April of 2013, I have grown by 26%, right? So I tried to use a lot of those learnings and try to create something like this, right? So this is a very important takeaway for all of you, that whenever you're creating dashboards, please go online and see what other people have done, because there are thousands, not hundreds, there are thousands of pieces of inspiration you can find. And I mean, that saves you a lot of effort, right? Okay, so I'm not going to take you through every link because, like I said, there's too much content here. And I also have to show you Power BI. But I just wanted to tell you the variety of content I put here. So for example, if you're interested in consulting, there is this guide by Harvard. It's a very old guide, but this is considered one of the best guides for consulting practices. So they talk about 6 tools that they feel every business consultant should know about, right? And if you go through it, you realize this, some of these things we already know. If you're an MBA, you know what benchmarking is, right? You know what a balanced scorecard is. You know the Porter's 5%, the 9-box grid, and the BCG growth share matrix and core competency. I don't think there's anything here which we haven't heard of. But ask yourself that after studying these things in your MBA, how many of you have really bothered? I mean, if I don't show you anything, how many of you can really explain to me what five forces is and how is it applicable to the consumer sector? I'm not saying you don't know what it is. Maybe you do, but have you really bothered to think about it and connect it to the dashboard that you're creating? Maybe not, right? So that is the idea. Similarly, there is a PDF by Bain, which is again considered one of the pivotal PDFs. It's a very old guide. It came in 2011, but this guide is something every consultant around the world follows, right? And again, when you go through it, you realize they talk about very simple things, decision making, downsizing, knowledge management, M&A. But it's just the way it has been explained, and they give you a lot of references as well. So if you want to go deeper into the topic, you can always do that. So this is again something I've shared. And what else have I put here? Okay, then I have kept, these are not for visualization per se, these are for programming. So I've identified some channels that I absolutely love. So Real Python, StatQuest, Corey is great for programming, Free Code Camp, Learn from Nerds, Traverse Media, right? And okay, then from a dashboard perspective, for colors, right? I have given you these websites where you can find links and references and galleries for using colors effectively. Let me give you an example. So if I go to this website called Brand Colors, you will see that it shows you a huge list of brands from around the world and the colors that they are using, right? How helpful is that? Similarly, there is also something which is symbolism, or let's go to the meanings one, okay? Please see this. So this is also something I really like. Shift, Control, and click. Why am I not able to do that? Okay, it's working now. So you can see that it shows you different colors and it tells you what does the color mean. So if I have a lavender with me, in what context is the lavender suitable? What type of data is suited for using a lavender with, right? Again, I know I'm getting into a lot of detail here, but that's the point of creating dashboards. When I work with organizations and I help them create better dashboards, what do you think I'm doing for them? This is what I'm doing for them, isn't it? For example, Google Fonts has a huge collection of fonts available. And the best part is you can actually see it live. So if I type hello world, you can see it tells you different fonts. For example, Roboto is one of the most popular fonts used by Google. And you can see how different fonts. Montserrat is also one of the most popular fonts nowadays. And the best part is that these are all free fonts. You can actually download it and install it on your computer. If you notice, I can just click on it and I should be able to just select it and then download and install it. Okay, now that we have seen, you have an idea, right? What all is there on this page. Then there are icons, there are shapes, right? Let's come to the Power BI part, which is the more important part right now. Now, Power BI is a part of the Power Platform. That is the parent, right? Under which you have many different elements. Power BI is one, clearly the most popular one. But Power Platform also has other things in it. So we have Power BI for dashboards and visualization and intelligence. We have Power Apps for creating, like it says, applications with minimal coding. We have Power Automate, which is a RPA platform. And then we have Virtual Agents, which is for creating chatbots. We don't really need to get into it. As you can see, the link is already there. So if you're interested, you can go and have a look at it. Now, Power BI, as you can see, is the #1 BI tool in the market. This is the February 21 report. I'm not sure if the 2022 report has come or not. Let me just quickly check that and see if it has come or not. I don't think so, because if it would have come, everybody would have put it on LinkedIn. But yeah, I think we only have the one from last year. Doesn't matter. I mean, it is guaranteed that Power BI will still continue to be in the top quadrant, right? Now, I will not talk about, is Power BI better than Tableau? What about Click? What about Google Data Studio? And the reason is that you don't need me for that, right? You can just Google Power BI versus Tableau. In fact, I have an entire folder which has links on Power BI versus Tableau. Because for certain clients, I have to tell them in more detail. But the point is that you don't need me, right? We can just do a Google search and make up your mind which one is better. Rather than searching on Google, your focus should be to identify the type of organizations that you're applying to and the organization that you intend to work with in the future. What tools are they using? How does it matter what the world is using? What matters is in India, in your sector, in your company, what is being used, right? There are clear reasons for Power BI to be more popular. It's a Microsoft tool, it's free of cost. It is integrated very well with other Microsoft products. The learning curve is much flatter, right? The total cost of ownership is a little lesser, right? So many reasons for Power BI to grow so fast. But Power BI started in, I think, July 2015 or 2016, is it? Something like that, 2015 or 2016. So it's been 5-6 years, and it has very rapidly become the #1 tool. Now, when it comes to visuals, which is what all of you would be most excited about, you can see that Power BI has different options for you. So we have inbuilt, we have custom. Now, within the custom, we have some very special visuals. So we have something called InfoRiver. We have Zebra BI for IBCL certified financial modeling. Then we have HTML text styler, which allows you to use HTML and CSS. Then you also have Charticulator. You have VAIQ. You have D3JS for JavaScript, Plotly for JavaScript. Then you have Synoptic Panel, and then you have ARIA for natural interface. Right? So let me just mute everyone for a moment. Okay. Please unmute yourself when required. Now, as you can see, there's a lot to be covered. So let me just jump straight into it, and I will give you some live examples to show you how they work. Now, where will you get the data set to work on? I have already created the data set, and I'll share the link with you right now. Like I said earlier on the email, to be very honest with you, it is not possible for me to be able to do a hands-on training today, in the sense that I can't let you practice with me because we don't have that much time, right? But in any case, I'm sharing the link with you, everyone. Give me a moment. So I've shared it on the chat window. And this is a link which has, it's an open link. There are different data sets that I've put in here. So we have data sets on financial ratios, stock market, hospitality sector, HR, manufacturing, sales and marketing, and a weather data. So there's a lot of variety in it. It's quite large data sets. For example, the finance one is about 4 lakh rows. The sales one is about 50,000 records. The HR one has about 45 columns in it. So it's very, very, very good, rich data sets that I have given to you, right? The one that I'm currently going to work on is my marketing and sales data set. If you were wondering where to download it from, I've already given you the link in the chat window, right? Okay, so let me come to Power BI. Any questions so far before we start with the software? Anyone? And I forgot my tea is getting cold. Anyone? Anything on your mind? I mean, related to Power BI or otherwise that you would like to ask me?
Hello.
Yes.
That diagram you have shown, all the resources link. Will you share this thing with us?
I've already shared it. It is on the chat window. Do you see that link for lucid.app? I'll share it one more time on the chat window.
Okay.
It's an open link, and then I have only started doing this 15 days back. The moment I keep on adding more content to it, everything will be available to you on that channel. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Any other question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, I have a kind of advice that it would be helpful if you add the LinkedIn account, people of the LinkedIn account who are using Power BI, like so that we will be able to connect to them more. We will be able to connect with them on LinkedIn or maybe any other platform. And Is there any kind of
so what you mean is that people who who are developers and experts who you want to follow on LinkedIn, right?
yes, some maybe LinkedIn or in any other media platform like on YouTube, they will be like
Yeah,
we
I'll do
as
that.
students will be able to follow them and we will get help from them.
Sure. I'll do that, of course.
And also, sir, I have purchased your course, analytics bundle, and
Yep.
I am currently doing the Power BI course. So after doing the course from your website, from your recordings, lectures, what would be the best for me to do the projects?
Make a dashboard like I just showed you. Did you see that, a lot of people say, I don't have a problem statement. I want to create a dashboard, but I don't know what to make, because nobody has given me a problem. Did anybody give me a problem statement when I made that Google dashboard? No, I just picked up a data set. I created my own problem statements and I created a dashboard on it. As simple as that.
Sir, like you were sharing with us the kind of projects you are doing, like you have shared with us the granular data of the world where we click the particular country and the country will show and then we will go on to the state and this kind of data, like you have done it. So will you be so it will be helpful that you will make a small video or something like that from then we can
I have
get an idea.
692 videos on YouTube. There's a lot of topics that I've covered on YouTube where I explain exactly these things, right? And the short answer to that question is, it's very simple, okay? Please watch. On my website, this might be important for everyone, so just see this. See, there is a dashboard I created on Tableau just a few days back, maybe about a week back, this one. Just see this. Right, the bar chart and the map. You know where I got the idea from? I got the idea because I had done this for a client. I suggested this to a client, but where did the idea come from originally? Let me show you. Please see this. I was reading a report by Accenture on digital consumers, right? And Accenture, of course, is the world's largest consulting firm. And I was going through it and I saw this. Do you see this, everyone? I loved it. It's nothing very special. It is not the most advanced dashboard that I've ever created. I've created very complex things, but it's very simple, it's very elegant, and I love the way the colors are being used, right? So I thought, why don't I do this for a client? I did it for a client. Now, the one I did for the client is obviously confidential. I can't share and I can't even show it to you, let alone share it. But I did use the sample data and I created it. Don't you see this? It's the same thing, which I'm showing you right now. Now, if you ask me, but how did you know where did the creativity come from and how did you know how you want to create it? This is where I got the idea. Now, the next question is, but how did you know what is it that you wanted to show? I did not know. I just created my own problem statement. I said, let me pick up countries that are there in Asia Pacific, right? And in United States. So I picked up 2 markets and I said, let me show the 100% contribution of my category and segment. So furniture, office supplies, technology, consumer, corporate, and home office. That's it. Right? And then I put 2 colors in it. So I said that let me keep a threshold. Countries that are lesser than 50,000 will be low sales and countries that are higher than 50,000 will be high sales. Who told me to do that? Nobody did. But I wanted to build a formula. So I created a hypothetical problem saying that the client wants to see sales above and below 50,000. And those are the 2 colors that you see, high sales and low sales. Does it make sense? Does that help?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Right. One more thing I'll share with you is that all my Power BI dashboards are available to download, by the way. So you just have to go to my GitHub account and let me show you this one, PBI dashboards. Right. You can see this. All the dashboards I've created, the complete dashboard with all the formulas, visuals, everything that I've done is free to download. I'll share this link with you as well. Perfect. Let us go back to Power BI. Perfect. Now, I know that all of you are at different skill levels because, some of you, Sanjay, I know has been working on Power BI for a while. Some of you might never have worked on it. So please, give me some time, because I have to start from a slightly low level, because I want to make sure everybody's able to understand, right? So I don't want to suddenly jump into how to do Power Query, because there will be gaps in knowledge otherwise, right? So the first 15-20 minutes is going to be a little simple, but just work with me, right? But I guarantee that by the end, we will have covered a lot of different things. And I would have given you an overview of a lot of different things. Now, the data set I'm working on, you already know, is the global superstore data. So I'll go to Excel workbook, and I'm going to select my global superstore data. And select my table. Perfect. So this is my table. I'll also rename it. Let's just call it sales. And what I would like to do is to use a little bit of natural language. So I'm going to select the Q&A visual. This is an inbuilt visualization, so you don't have to download it or anything. And it does not require any coding in it. So I simply click on Q&A. And here I can ask some questions. So I can say, top 5 customer name. And as you can see, it automatically tells me who my top 5 customers are. How cool is that? I can just say top 10 and it tells me top 10 customer name, right? Let me copy and paste. And then we'll make one more. And in this, I want to say total sales and total profit. So I get a multi-row card, which shows me the total sales and total profit. And then one more we'll keep below this is my sales by segment as a pie chart, right? Like this. And then finally, something for a spatial geographic data as well. We will say that we want to see sales by country as a map, right? And that did not work. Hold on. Map and field map visuals are disabled. Go to file, options, global security. Okay, I'm not sure why that is coming, but let me see.
Yes, sir. Yesterday it came to me as well.
Yeah, Power BI is making a lot of changes. Web 2 view has also been introduced now, but it doesn't matter.
Under security.
Just no, help me.
On the top.
At the top of
fifth one. Yeah, next one. Below Python scripting.
1 second. Python R scripting, Python security. Okay. And what do we select here? This one. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a good thing. And we'll discuss it later as to why this is a good thing. But the Web 2 view introduction is a good thing. Anyway, so as you can see, everyone, we have a map here. And the best part is that in Power BI, everything is interconnected by default. In Tableau, you only make one visual on one sheet, and then you have to build a dashboard from it. Here, everything is connected by default, which means that if I select any one segment, you see how my numbers, map, and my customers are also changing, right? Like this. Now, this is a tool that Microsoft has been building for the last, I've been using it for 4 years now. 4 years back, it was very simple. Now it is more sophisticated than before. For example, if I build a measure, right? So I'm just jumping a little bit and I'm showing you how to build a calculation in a data model. Now in Excel, if I ask you, show me the profit margin, that's not difficult, right? You will say sum of profit divided by sum of sales. But how do you do that in Power BI? For that, we have to use something called DAX, which is data analysis expressions. So I will simply find my profit margin here. So we will say that my profit margin is equal to the sum of my profit divided by the sum of my sales value. Let's press enter and then convert this into a percentage, right? And the best part is that measures are now integrated with Q&A. So for example, if I ask here, profit margin by market as a, let's keep it as a table only. You see this, this is very cool, right? Because now you're able to build measures and the measure can be used in a Q&A as well. But you know what? The biggest change is going to happen in a couple of months with the introduction of GPT-3. So this is a very new development. And I don't know how many of you have heard of GPT-3. So GPT-3 is an OpenAI model, which is a pre-trained Transformer 3. I'll not get into details here. You just Google it, right? Just Google GPT-3 and read about it, right? So GPT-3, right? And prepare to be amazed, right? At the sort of things that GPT-3 can do. Anyway, so what Power BI is doing is that they are going to leverage the GPT platform. And then what's going to happen is that I will now be able to do this. Do you see this, everyone? I will be able to write a natural language expression, right? So I can say rolling 10-day average of inspections. And how cool is that? It's actually building an entire formula for you. Sanjay, did you know about this?
Yes, sir. I read recently. Yeah.
Right. So this is planned in the April public preview. And this is going to be a game changer. It is a different matter that even to use it, you still have to learn DAX, but then it is going to be a huge time saver, right? Let me give you a small example, everyone. Now, let us say from an insights perspective, the point of using Power BI is that you don't want to make a chart. I mean, I can make a chart in Excel as well, right? Excel is not a bad tool, correct? But the beauty of Power BI is that you can generate insights from it. Let me give you an example. So I'm going to make a chart in which I want to show my order date and my sales value. Please see this. Now, all of you can see very clearly that there has been a jump year over year. But when I go to a quarter level, it's more interesting because there is a seasonality pattern. You can see that Q4 to Q1 every year is a decline. So the business is seasonal and Q4 to Q1 every year is a decline that happens. So I would like to know what is that change that is happening. That means if I was 3,38,000 and I became 480, what was the growth that happened, correct? Now, how do you find that change? Excel can't do this, right? But to do this in Power BI, please watch. I will first go to the data view on the left side. Now we only have one table with us, which you can see on the right side, right? I want to create one more table. So I will say table tools and new table. And in new table, I'm going to create a very simple table. There are many different ways of doing it, but I'll create a very simple one. I will say that my date table is equal to what? Is equal to calendar auto. No more, no less. It creates a single column with dates in it. And I will go to the modeling view now. That's the third icon that you see on the left side. And I will connect both of them, right? So I'm just going to select my order date and connect it to the date like this. Now if I want to see the change from one quarter to the next quarter, what I can do is I can put my date here in the axis. Let me also keep the data label. Now this is just the number, isn't it? But I want to see the change that is happening quarter by quarter. Now there are a couple of different ways of doing it, right? One is you write the formula, which I'll show you. So I will go to new measure, right? And just for you to understand and get a sense, get a feel of how Power BI formulas are, how are they very similar to Excel, but also a little different and more powerful than Excel, please watch this. So I'm going to say what is my quarter over quarter change, right? Now, how do I find the quarter over quarter change? I'm going to say first, let me say there is a variable which is for my previous quarter. How do I find the sales for my previous quarter? Before that, let's find the sales of the current quarter. That is the easy part. So let's find the sales for the current quarter. Now the sales for current quarter is very simple. It is nothing but sum of sales. No question about it, right? But what about the previous quarter? For the previous quarter as well, I would like to find the sum of sales, but I want to shift it by 1. That means in quarter 2, it should show me quarter 1. In quarter 3, it should show me quarter 2, and so on and so forth. So I will say, calculate my sum of sales. Now see, at this point, if I don't do anything more, then there's no point, because calculate sum of sales is the same as sum of sales. But this is the part which is interesting. There is a filter. So I'm able to tell Power BI that, see, I want to show the sum of sales, but not for this month, for the previous month. In this case, not for the current quarter, but for the previous quarter. How do we do that? We will simply write previous quarter, and we will select the date here. Right? Now, what is the result that we want to return? So we want to return a result saying that I want to divide my current quarter minus previous quarter divided by my previous quarter. And if there is no previous quarter, then the alternate result should be, it is the first quarter. Now see how it works. Let me make this into a percentage. And I'm going to put this in the tooltips. So this profit margin is there, QOQ change. I'll put it in the tooltips. And as you can see, Q1, there is no value because it's the first quarter. But for Q2, do you see the change that is happening? 41%, 27%, 35%. How cool is that? Right? Now, what if you want to highlight wherever the change has been very prominent? Maybe, do you see sometimes the change is 11, 47, right? That is what you want to highlight. Changes that are more than 25%. So I'll just go to my columns conditional formatting. You can't do conditional formatting in Excel on charts. In Excel, conditional formatting is only there for cells, not for charts, right? But as you can see, I can put a rule here and I can say that for my quarter over quarter change, I want to say that if the change is greater than or equal to negative 100%, but it is less than 0, then the color should be a gray color. If it is greater than 0, but it is less than 25%, right? So that would be 0.25. It should be like this. And then one final. I'm not doing it completely, but you get the idea. The first one obviously will be blue. Let me just hide that 1 second. Right? So what it is doing is the colors are telling me something about the change, right? So I can now identify that if you look at the first year of business, every year, every quarter, the change was massive, right? It was 41%, 27%, 35%. In the second year of business, not quite so much. It did grow, but not that drastically, right? In the current year, it has been good. Q2 to Q3, Q3 to Q4, Q1 to Q2, Q2 to Q3 has been good. But then Q3 to Q4 hasn't been that big. It has been 23%. It's a growth, but a more conservative growth that has happened. Now, talking about another AI visual, if I want to know what is the reason behind this growth, right? From Q3 to Q4, I can just select Q3 and Q4, right click, and then select analyze the increase. This is also an AI feature. I click on it, and it tells me that the 23.8% increase that has happened is because, do you see this? APAC and LATAM have accounted for the majority of increase, but do you see Europe here? Europe has actually declined. Now, if somebody says that while my business is growing, from Q3 to Q4, the growth wasn't that fantastic. It was more conservative. What is the reason behind it? Because of Europe. Because Europe showed a decline during that period. Do you see this? So I can just click on plus, and then this analysis gets added here, right? This is the reason. So I will say this is the reason behind Q3 to Q4 growth not being very massive. But for example, if I make a slicer and I put my market in it, and I deselect Europe from here, okay? Sorry, what did I just click on? Now, do you see this? It's a very different picture. If I remove Europe, if I filter it out, now you can see that Q3 to Q4 actually has been a very good growth. Look at the difference, everyone. You know, this is the storytelling behind dashboards. Dashboards are not just about creating a beautiful chart and putting colors in it. No, it's much more than that. This is the story. So I will say that overall, my growth has been 23%, but if I exclude Europe from the analysis, then my growth has been 42%, which is massive, right? But if you look at Q3, Q3 is a very different picture. In Q3, the growth was 21% without Europe, but by adding Europe, it increased to 28%, right? Okay, so I'll take a pause here. If you have any questions, please ask me. See, this is what I do for clients, right? If you're wondering, Havish, you work as a data analyst, you work on Power BI, what is it that you do on a daily basis? You know, what is it that you sit down with clients and do for them? Is it just about creating a chart? No, this is what my job is. My job is not to create charts. Creating charts is a requirement, right? I have to create charts to come up with solutions and come up with insights. I don't get hired because the client says, make a chart for me. They can also make a chart. My job is to make a chart and then build a story, a narrative around it, right? Any questions? Let me just get some water.
This is an interesting AI feature. Other than this AI feature, any other AI features are available in Power BI?
Any other what are available in Power BI?
AI feature means like
another AI features, sure. There are only 3 AI features that are there. So if you go to insert, you can see that we have the question and answer, which I've already shown you. Then we have the, okay, let me show you the other ones also. So Q&A we've already done. Key influencers I have never used. You can Google it if you want. Let me show you the smart narrative. This is also very helpful, right? Hold on. How the smart narrative works is that if I right click, right, on the chart, I can say summarize, right? Now see this, it is all automatically building a complete summary for me, telling me that my sales have gone up by 208% between April 2012 and October 2015. Sales started trending up in 14 quarters, jumped from this to this with a steep incline. But is this dynamic? You bet it is dynamic. So if I select only one market, you see how the results are also changing. How cool is that? And here's the best part. You can also add more text to the smart narrative. Let me show you how. So I will say that my number of customers, right, have grown from, now how do I know the number of customers that were there in 2012? So I'm going to click on this plus button, which is the value, right? And I will say, let me say the count customer name in 2012 year. So it tells me there were 795 customers that we had, correct? So I'm going to save it as 2012 cust in 2012 to, now we want to find the number of customers in 2015. So I'll again say value and I'll say count customer name in 2015. How cool is that? So these are dynamic numbers which you have extracted using the natural language. And you notice when I select different markets, do you see how these numbers are also changing? Right, like this. Make sense? There are a couple of others as well. There is the decomposition tree. I mean, there's nothing special here. So I'll not spend too much time on it because there really is not much to say. I personally don't even know why they have called it a AI visual. It's just like a standard visualization, but anyway, I'll show it to you. You have like a left to right hierarchy like this. Okay. All right, now the best part about Power BI is that you have these inbuilt visualizations available, which are these. but you can also download additional visuals. Let me give you an example. So I can go to more visuals here. I can go to more visuals, and then in more visuals, I can select over 250 visualizations available. I will start with a simple one, and then I'll show you a more sophisticated one. So let us start with a drill down pie chart, right? Let me select the advanced donut. So let's add it. Now, how it works is that it creates a donut chart for you, which looks like this. This is very cool. All my clients absolutely love it. In the free version, this is a paid visual. So in the free version, you can keep up to 3 levels. And what that tells you is that we have the 5 markets. Let me also make it 0 decimal, just a moment. Okay, so we have 5 markets. So APAC is doing 40 lakhs, 42,000. Now within APAC, if I click on it, it tells me how much each region is doing. And if I look at, let's say, South Asia, within South Asia, I can see the performance in each of the subcategories. How cool is that? This is just one among 250 visuals available. So imagine the variety of things that you have on Power BI, right? So coming back to my link I was showing you earlier, just give me a moment. Like I said, you have the inbuilt visualizations, you have the custom visuals. There's so much available here. Some have been made by Microsoft, some have been made by other firms, some have been made by independent developers as well, right? Now, I want to show you something called Info River. It's very new and it's super cool, right? Especially if you're in finance, right? Now, Info River is, I would not even call it just a visual. Think of it like a complete software. Okay, watch this. A question is, how do you make the transition from Excel to Power BI? Or rather, how does the client make the transition from Excel to Power BI? Watch this. This is amazing. This is Info River, everyone, right? Like this, created by XViz. I have already downloaded the sample, so I'll show you how it works. So Info River is this one. Prepare for your jaws to drop, okay? Because the same happened with me as well, right? I mean, 2 years back, if you had told me that something like this would be possible in Power BI, I would have laughed at you. And it is already there. Even though it's paid, that's not the point, right? I mean, if you work with a company, you will get access to it. This is unbelievably good, right? Just see this. This is like an entire Excel software running inside Power BI. Can you see this, everyone? This is a visual, okay, running within Power BI. But look at the options at the top. It's not just creating a chart for you or a table for you. It's creating an entire software for you. I can literally work on it like I do on Excel. Watch this. I have my pivot table here, a beautiful looking pivot table. Look at this. I can change my row height. You want to change the size? Change the size. You want to change the font? Change the font. You want to use different formats? Use different formats. You want to see different templates? Look at this. You have different templates available. I mean, just, when we talk about how profiles will change in the future and they're already changing, and how your work will not be to sit down and do mechanical, repetitive work. Think about it. Now you have these tools that can do all these things for you. And so much of the work that we used to do manually, a CA would have to sit down and spend a lot of time formatting, format painter, copy paste. You don't have to do all that. The tool takes care of that for you. The only thing you need to know is how to use it. That's it. You don't have to learn how to do all of this yourself. Just see this. You have entire conditional formatting here as well. Right? Sanjay, have you seen this Info River?
Yes, sir.
Very cool, right? I mean, this is, are you guys using it?
No, sir, never used it actually, never got opportunity.
Can you imagine a future where you will be using it?
Yes, sir, true.
It's going to take time. Okay, it's not that suddenly organization will say, let's stop Excel and move to this, but I hope all of you can see. By the way, there is also a export to Excel button, right? I mean, so you can create it on Power BI and you can export it to an Excel file, right? And I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just want to take you through all the sheets to show you. And I'm sure when you just look at it, you will be able to imagine what all is available here, right? It's fantastic, right? Okay, now they follow something called the IBCS standards or the guideline. Let me just show you what that is. Okay, so IBCS is what we refer to as International Business Communication Standard. Let me just open it for you. If you're in finance, I'm sure you must have heard of it. Definitely go to the website. In any case, even if you're not from finance, you should definitely go to it. There's a lot to learn from this, right? So they talk about guidelines that you should be following when you're creating models, reports, dashboards, right? That is IBCS. Then there is another standard called the FAST standard, which is a little less popular, but this is specifically for Excel files, right? So the FAST standard tells you that for financial modeling, what should be the color, font size, how should you use formula, which type of formula should be used, how should you connect files, things like that, right? While organizations, I don't think there's any organization I know who follows this. See, it's not a rule that you have to follow everything, but it's a roadmap, it's a guideline. It gives you some direction, but it's not that if it says something, you have to follow it blindly, but then you should definitely have a look at this. Okay, the next I want to show you is why you have to learn programming, okay? I'm not very popular because whenever I get invited to colleges and I do sessions, even at corporate, my clients tell me, Havish, what are you saying? You're telling us we have to learn programming. I've invested 20 years of my career doing HR business partnering, and suddenly you're asking me to learn programming. But see, that is what it is. It's the future, right? I mean, to drive the point home, let me tell you, Excel, forget Power BI, okay? Excel today has this. Excel has an entire programming environment in it. Now you can pretend to live under a rock. Sorry for the bluntness, but you can pretend to be under a rock and say, oh, I did not know this. I don't care about it. I will not use this. I will not learn coding. I will continue to work on pivot table and VLOOKUP and charts. But the world is not going to wait for you, right? Your competition is not going to wait. Just like I have spent 18 years working on Excel, and I still have to continue working on Excel every single day. I have to keep on learning and updating myself. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. You know, I mean it in the nicest way. You have to learn programming because you don't have a future without programming. And I don't think I need to convince you anymore rather than showing you this. Let me run it. Do you see this table that I'm creating right now? Just watch this. Do you know how I created this table? Not using VBA. I created it using JavaScript. Now you might say, Havish, isn't this overkill? Like, could you not have done this using Visual Basic to automate it? But then VBA is a 30 years old language. VBA started in 1991. VBA doesn't work on the internet. VBA cannot handle large codes. VBA cannot make a beautiful user form. While I'm a VBA expert, I'm a 40 under 40 because of my work done in VBA. Let me tell you, VBA is a dead language. The future is not going to be about VBA. It is going to be about doing JavaScript and TypeScript on Excel, which is right in front of you. So let me show you something that I have created, which is available on the Excel store. So if you go to Insert and you go to Add-ins, there is a marketplace, right? Insert Add-ins. And if you go to the store, like you download an application on your phone, if you type my name, there are two apps I have available. One is a stopwatch, the other is a swap case. Let me show you the stopwatch. This is the stopwatch, everyone. How cool is that? It is actually a software that is running on top of my Excel file. It's a very simple tool. I mean, the tool is not sophisticated, but can you imagine the possibilities? There is almost nothing that I cannot do on an Excel file today. For example, if you say, but I want to add a YouTube video, how do you do that? See this right in front of you. Let me pick up one of my own videos. Doesn't matter which one. How cool is that? There is a YouTube video that is playing inside Excel. I mean, it would have been impossible. While VBA could also do it sort of, it could never do it well, right? And because this is all based on JavaScript, which is how the internet functions, this will never get outdated, right? And these are not new technologies. So Microsoft has shifted to JavaScript 5, 6, 7 years back. It's a slow shift. It's taking time, but it is the future. Slowly, I have started to see that organizations are starting to come and ask, Havish, what is it? How do we use TypeScript? How do we automate stuff? Right? So the point I'm trying to make is that learn it today, because in any case, you have to learn it after 5 years. If you learn it today, you will thank me after 5 years that, Havish, we are glad you told us in 2022, because now we already know so much more than the other person. Let me just share with you a small software we are building before I jump back to Power BI. So this is Sanjay and Tala. You also haven't seen it. So this is the talent tracker. It's still in development, but I just want to show it to you. So this is an entire software. Remember the BCG McKinsey 9-box grid? That is what we are building here, right? I again want to remind you, the BCG 9-box. Remember this one? Not the BCG. The G McKinsey 9-box grid, this one is what we are building here in Excel. Watch this. Get started, dummy data. I'll say columns to filter. I'll just select gender, group, code, role, grade. How cool is that? Do you see this? I can actually see an entire form for an employee within my Excel file, like a software. How cool is that? And I can also print it directly from Excel like this. No manual work required. And this is not the future. These are things I'm already doing for my clients, right? Now, while it all seems very exciting, the fact of the matter is that if you don't know programming, how are you going to be able to do all these things? But here's the secret that a lot of people don't want to say or don't communicate in the right manner. When I say you have to learn coding, it doesn't mean you have to become a coder. If you ask me, Havish, can you write the code which made this? I can't, because my intern has done it, but I can understand it. I know what he has done. I understand how it works, right? So what I did was I ensure that I sit down with my intern, and I'll just show you. I sat down with my intern and I told him that this is the code which is there, by the way, talent tracker. Let me just open it in Visual Studio. Let me just put the right window. See this. This is the entire code behind it. I probably know 10% of it. Okay. But you know what? I know the correct 10%. My job is not to build the code and do the debugging and build the software and put the colors and the animation and the integration. No, that's not my job. I'm like a program manager. My job is to understand the workflow, to understand the process, to understand the client requirement, and to build a solution around it. So I understand what type of pages should be there. What should be the flow? If a user clicks on one thing, what is the next thing that should open up? What are what we call the, I've forgotten the term for it. Let's say, what are the controls that you want to give to the user, right? That they can manipulate. That is my job. My job is not to code. My job is to design it. But I can't be a designer. I can't be a solution provider. I can't be a good consultant if I don't understand coding at a very high level. So when I say at a high level, all I mean to say is that if I look at a code and you say there is a curly bracket here and here, you should know what it means. If there is a semicolon that comes at the end of every line, you should know what it means. I hope I'm able to explain myself to you. If there is something that says TS, you should know what is TypeScript. If it says import React, you should just know what is React. So React being a framework. That's it. I don't know anything more than that, to be very honest. But I know enough so that if tomorrow I have to get work done from somebody, I know how to get it done, right? I hope that helped. Anyway, coming back to Power BI, even in Power BI, you have an entire HTML, CSS viewer. Let me show that to you. So there are a few options available. So there is a company called K-Team Solutions, right? K-Team Solutions. It's a German firm, and they build this HTML and CSS viewer. Just look at this, and I dare you not to be impressed. Okay. HTML and okay, this one. Is this the one? Okay, I don't know. Let's try. 1 second. I've just lost my phone. Doesn't matter. Okay, so as you can see, there are different examples that have been given. I'll walk you through them. Look at this. Do you see this? Do you see the effects that are coming? How cool is that? Can you imagine? You're doing these things on Power BI, and look at this. Do you see how these things have been done? See, it's CSS. Again, a lot of people get worried. They say, oh my God, how am I going to ever learn all these things? First things first, you don't have to learn it. You just have to know what is CSS. You just have to know the right websites. You have to know what it is so that tomorrow when you're working in a team, you are the data analyst. You are the one in financial modeling, and there is a programmer in your team. The programmer doesn't know what is Power BI. The programmer knows how to code, but the programmer has to be told, right, what you want. How are you going to explain to the person what you want unless and until you know what it is? Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me show you some other examples to impress you even further. See this. It's amazing, right? I can actually move this slider, and do you see how my fill is changing? How cool is that? These are all SVG icons that I've created. Look at this. This is amazing. Look at this part. How cool is that? All right. And see this. So if I change my color, you see how the colors are changing? It's all dynamic. If I change my number, again, do you see? Okay. Again, I'm not going to walk you through every single one, but I'll show you some of the good ones. So this is a video. Great. So this is a proof of concept that you can actually play a YouTube video directly within Power BI. So don't think of Power BI as a dashboarding tool. It's a platform. It's a platform on which you can build sort of web pages. It also has R and Python integration. I haven't even spoken about that. Both R and Python integration is there in Power BI. So it's a platform where you can do a lot of fancy stuff. Look at this part. Look at possibilities for clients. You want to show an animation, and I want to increase the speed like you do on PowerPoint, right? See this. Decrease, increase. How amazing is that, right? And it's not even very difficult. If you notice, it's not a very large piece of code. What are we doing here? I can literally explain it to you in 30 seconds. The size, I'm asking the user. So the user is telling me what is the size. What is the size, everyone? The size is 15. Then the color is red, correct? So this is the size 15. This is the color, which is red. The speed is a factor of the size. So whatever the size is, the speed will be divided by time. Fair enough? Okay. Then what? Then this return, right? The return is the result. The SVG is nothing but scalable vector graphic. So all these numbers that you see are nothing but coordinates. So this gray line that I'm drawing, where is it coming from? The stroke is a light gray color, and these numbers are doing nothing but creating this arc for me. Now, I'm not an expert, so I'll not be able to actually manipulate it right now, but let me try. But it might not work, okay? So please excuse me if it doesn't work properly. Let me just change it to 500. Do you see this? Do you see how my arc changed, everyone? Do you see how it went out of the boundary? So that is the point. This is nothing but a scalable vector graphic. And again, nobody has to learn how to do it because these are auto-generated. There's a software that can do all this for you automatically, right? So yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to show you, the possibilities of using HTML and CSS in Power BI reports, right? Any questions so far? And the best part Microsoft has done is to make it very open source, so they have said anybody can do anything with it. And that's the best part, because you have developers and firms from all around the world who are creating fancy stuff on it. Like only a couple of days back, I found something called Plotly. This is beautiful. These are 3D animation, 3D visualizations that I used to create on Python. Now you can actually do it on Power BI. Just watch this. It's very cool. See this. So composition, look at this. How cool is that? Now, I'm not going to discuss with you why it is better or worse than an existing visual, but the possibilities, right? The possibility that you can do something like this. How amazing is that, right? So stop thinking of Power BI as a better version of Excel. That, okay, I have Excel charts and pivot. I can make it slightly better and better looking on Power BI. No, it's a platform on which you can do all sorts of things on it, right? Okay, this is probably irrelevant to us, but what we have created here is using something called Plotly. And if I can just edit it, you can see that this is how I've created it, right? And if you see the code behind it, this is the code that has been generated behind it. Again, why am I showing this to you again and again? You don't have to learn how to write it. By the way, nobody writes it. It is all auto-generated. But the point is you at least have to know what it is, isn't it? Otherwise, how will you make tweaks to it, right? All these links are again there on that page. If you notice, I've shared everything here. So D3JS is data-driven documents. Then you have Charticulator. I think I've shown you quite a lot. I'll not show you every single one. I'll just show you one final one called ARIA. ARIA is one of the most powerful, intelligent narrative engine. And you should definitely see this. Because this is the future of business intelligence. This is where companies want to be in another 5 years. So we have ARIA like this. What is happening to my OneDrive? Something funny is happening. There are 2 sync issues. Okay, doesn't matter. I'll check it later. Please see this, everybody. This is a sample file. The tool is paid, obviously. But do you see this? Do you see that report on the right side? You know what? Nobody has written it. It has been written automatically. And this is not just simple statements. It's like an entire report. So it says overall sales across all products are 111 million, significant outlier by market. How cool is that? Look at this. Right? Do you see how every time I click on a slicer, my report changes? See this. And look at the quality of the text. The overall profit increased from this to that between this period, or 54.5%. The rise was driven primarily by an increase in profit. How awesome is that, right? But yes, how do you build all these things? At the back end, you have to code. Again, when I say code, doesn't mean you have to build it from scratch, but you have to know a little bit of coding, obviously. Otherwise, you will always be dependent on somebody who knows how to code. So let me just give you an example. In modeling, there is something called a linguistic schema. Right? I'll just open the link for you. Okay, so here it explains that a linguistic schema is nothing but a JSON file, right? I don't know, was it a JSON file? Yeah, it's in a JSON format, right? And you can see here, you can define the type of phrasing, right? So when a user is asking a question, something like, who are my best customers? What does that even mean? What does best refer to? Does best mean the person who's most consistent? Does best mean somebody whose profitability is the highest? Does best mean somebody who's very loyal and is purchasing every week? It depends, right? So these are the type of things that you can define here, right? And as you can see, you have something called bindings and phrasings, and you can define all these things. Now see, my understanding, okay, is that in another 4-5 years, you will never be doing all this, right? Even I will now not be doing all this, but we will have people doing it, the coders, the data analysts who work in programming. But I really strongly feel that we will have to know what coding is, because to be able to tell them what to build, you have to be clear, right, in your communication. Because remember, the coders don't understand business. They don't understand top line, bottom line, customer loyalty, RFM analysis, financial modeling. They understand coding. So that that communication has to be very clear, and that can only happen if you are able to communicate to them, if you understand coding. Coders will never understand business, right? You will have to become better at it to articulate your requirements to them. Rimji, many example of analysis of text So text analytics is also there. Let me check. I don't do it here. I do it on, so text analytics on Python, I use NLTK, right? Which is one of the most popular libraries on Python. In Power BI also you have some basic things, but I haven't used it, so I'll have to check. Hold on. Yeah, you do have an API, a key phrase extraction, but I think this is only available on the paid version of Power BI, if I'm not mistaken. So I need Power BI, Azure language. I don't know. 1 second. Return key phrases. I'll share the link with you. You can have a look at it. But from my understanding, I think this is only available in the Pro or the Premium version, something like that. Power Automate, I don't know. Sanjay, can you tell us where to learn Power Automate from? I haven't started my journey with Power Automate. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but okay, I don't know if Sanjay is there or not. No, I don't think Sanjay is there. I would request if you can just send me a hello on LinkedIn. I'll just ask Sanjay and then reply back to you. I mean, I would not know about Power Automate. Okay, let's come back. Okay. So coming back to slightly simpler topics, the next thing I want to show you is how you can use something called Power Query, which is this button called Transform Data, right? Now, Power Query is a tool, which is an ETL tool. So if I can show you, Power Query is an ETL tool that allows you to connect, extract, transform, and load data. And three important things about Power Query is that number one, you can connect to hundreds of data sources. You have a self-built development kit. You can build your own connectors. You also have APIs. There are more than 300 transformations in Power Query, and it's all without coding. And Power Query is available not just on Power BI, it is available on multiple Microsoft platforms. So it is there on Power BI, Excel, CDS, Power Automate, SQL Server, Analysis Services, right? Okay, anyway, the theory and all you can see later, but let us do a practical example, right? Now, the problem statement that I want to show to all of you is that I have a folder that has multiple files in it, okay? Just give me a minute to open it. Let's do this one. Okay. So as you can see, I have a folder that has multiple folders and files in it. So I have a folder with historical data, 2017, 2018, 2019. Then I have 2020, okay? Then I have three related tables, category, discount, and ID and name. Let me explain that. This is the sales table, which is 2020. In the sales table, you only have the transactional details. So it tells me order date, shipping date, customer ID, city, state, segment, subcategory, sales, quantity, profit. There are three things that are missing. Number one, I don't have the name of the customer. Why not? Because that data is confidential, right? You can't show the customer name to everybody. So it is being handled by a different marketing team. Now, I also don't have the category, the parent. I have the subcategory. I don't have the category because it is redundant. If I know the subcategory, obviously I can know the category by doing a VLOOKUP. So I don't need to have two columns because that will take up more space and utilize more space on my computer, right? And I also don't have the net sales. I know the gross sales, 511, but I don't know the net, which means I don't know the discount being offered. Why not? Because that discount is being handled by the trade marketing team or by the finance team, right? So it is not there in this data. And the objective is we want to combine everything into a single Power BI file. Let me show you how we do that. So let me start from scratch. Okay, as you can see, there is nothing that I've selected. Okay, it's a blank Power BI file. I will go to get data, and this time we want to select from a folder, not one file or two file or three file, but three files in a folder. So I will go to get data and select folder. At the same time, I would also like you to see the number of connectors that Power BI can connect to. Do you see this? Excel, text, CSV, XML, JSON folder, PDF, MySQL. You have almost all the common connectors that you would expect, which Power BI can connect to. Okay. Anyway, let's go to folder, and in folder, I will select the folder that we want. So I'm going to select OneDrive, desktop, inside IM 1920 and 1719, correct? So this is the folder that has three files in it. I click on OK, one more time OK. And what it does is it tells me that there are three files in that folder. The fourth is a hidden file. Let's not get confused with that. Let me remove it. Hold on. So that there is no confusion. Okay. All right. So I want to combine and transform. And the final step is that it will confirm with me which is the sheet that you would like to combine. So in all the three workbooks, there is a sheet called sheet number 1, which we want to combine, one below the other. I click on OK. And this window that you see, everyone, is called the Power Query Editor, right? This one. Okay, hold on. Here. This is called the Power Query Editor. It looks a little bit like Excel. It is almost nothing in similarity with Excel. It's completely different. The formulas that you write here are completely different. It is not programming. It is functional based. So like in Excel, you write VLOOKUP, SUMIF. Similarly, here also you have functions like table.add column, table.rename column, right? So it's similar in that way, but it is not a programming language. How do we verify that all the three files have been combined? You can see here, 17, 18, 19 have been combined, one below the other. How cool is that? But here's the best part. Tomorrow, if you add another file to the same folder, so I'm just taking 2020 and I'm adding it here, look what will happen. If I click on refresh, in 1 second, 2020 will also get added. So you have perfectly automated this process. And this is a problem every organization has. Some of you have work experience, right? And I'm sure you must have faced this problem sometime or the other, where you have multiple files and you want to combine everything. And the problem is it takes a lot of time, right? It's easy work, but it's also time consuming and error prone because you can make a lot of mistakes, right? So in one click, we are able to do it. Now, before you ask your questions, I have a very nice video on YouTube where what I have done is I have shown how do you combine files when the data is not the same. That means the template is different.
A lot of companies today struggle with privacy because Skyflow didn't exist a few years ago, but now
Okay, so if you notice, in this video, I have taken different problem statements. So for example, how do you combine when files have the same template, when the data is not starting on A1, when the column order is not the same, when the column spelling is not the same, when the spelling is same, but the case is not the same, when there is a new column, when there are two columns with the same name, two headers, hidden sheets, sheet names are different, hidden files in the folder, sheet is protected with password, file is encrypted or protected, parent folder has many subfolders in it, multiple sheets are there in the workbook, or there are multiple files and each file has multiple sheets in it. Some of these are simple, some of these are a little more advanced to do. It's a 1-hour lecture where I've explained how to combine data in all these different situations, right? Some of it you can do simply by clicking and pointing. Some of these things you will have to build 1 or 2 or 3 formulas to get the result, right? But this is amazing. I mean, 5-6 years back as a VBA developer, okay, maybe not 5-6 years back, but yeah, 5-6 years back, I used to do these things for clients using Visual Basic. by writing code, which was so irritating, right? But now you have these easy ways of, combining data from multiple files. And now this requirement has become even more because we all know, right? More and more data is being generated. So the need and the use case has increased even more, right, to do this. Okay, let's take a small pause. Any questions, anyone? Take a minute, think about it.
Sir, my question is, should I start with Power BI or Tableau as a beginner?
It doesn't matter. As a beginner, I guess if you're doing okay, let's not say beginner, intermediate, advanced. I don't like 3 levels because, it's not that easy to say beginner, intermediate, advanced. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 being absolute beginner, 10 being most advanced, right? If we talk about level 1, absolute beginner, somebody who just wants to make 3-4 charts and connect it and make it beautiful, it doesn't matter. You can use Google Data Studio, you can use Power BI, you can use Tableau. They will all be better than using Excel pivot charts and pivot tables. The moment you start to say, okay, but what about level 2 and level 3? Then the answer will change. Because it depends on, don't learn a tool if you're not going to use it. What is the point of learning Tableau if your client or the company you will be applying to is not going to use Tableau? And if you ask around you, everybody is working on Power BI. 97% of Fortune 500 are using Power BI today. That is 485 out of 500 Fortune 500 companies are using Power BI. I'm not saying Tableau is dead or it is bad or it is not used. I'm just talking about the world that we see around us. In India, the sort of clients that we have and the sort of companies we see and the functions. All large organizations will never be one tool. And Amazon, for example, will never work only on Power BI or on Tableau. They will have all the tools because different teams will be using different tools. Sometimes the same team will use different tools. I also work on Tableau. I have courses both on Power BI and on Tableau, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that, if you had to pick one, pick Power BI. It's the future, right? Tableau and all is great if you want to create infographics. Let me explain that. Just give me a moment to clean things up. Look at the quality of visualizations on Tableau. These are not dashboards. These are designs. This is something that a New York Times or a Bloomberg would be creating, right? This is not possible on Power BI. Why? Power BI has so many things in it, HTML and CSS and JavaScript and whatnot. At the end of the day, it's still a dashboard. It's still about creating pie chart and line chart and different types of charts and connecting them. In essence, it's like a pivot table, but this is different. This is from a designer's point of view. Look at something like this. This I can never do on Power BI because Power BI doesn't have the sort of tools required to be able to do something like this, right? Maybe I could, but then it doesn't make sense because Power BI has not been made to do stuff like this. That's the point. And again, like I said, when it comes to simple dashboards, something like this one, it doesn't matter. Do it on Tableau, do it on Power BI. What is the difference? But the point is that there is a lot of common area between Excel and Power BI, right? Let me explain that. Please see this. Power Query is also there on Excel. Do you see this? Power Query Editor. The model and DAX is also there on Excel, which is Power Pivot. You see, I can actually create. Okay, 1 second. I'll have to first add it to the model to be able to show it to you. Okay, see this. I can actually write DAX inside Excel. So because your work will require a lot of Excel, it makes sense to learn Power BI because of this big reason, because what you learn on Power BI can also be used for Excel. Power Query will work here and Power Pivot or DAX will also work here. Also, the integration is very strong. In Excel, do you see this? If you're working on Microsoft 365, I can actually load a Power BI dataset directly from Excel. How cool is that? I can't do this with Tableau. Similarly, when I'm working on a Power BI report, I can go to external tools and I can export it as an Excel file, which is not possible with Tableau.
Yes.
So there are, I mean, it's not an easy answer that, okay, do this or do that. It depends on many factors, Are you a data analyst? Are you in HR or supply chain, but you are also working in data? But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, very strongly on Power BI, right? I think this is the one you should pick.
Thank you, sir.
And especially if you're a fresher, don't bother with Tableau. I know Tableau is more popular and it's taught there are more workshops in colleges on Tableau. Some colleges even have a course, half credit course on Tableau. The reason is very simple, because they don't know how to work on Power BI. Power BI is very new. Tableau has been around since 2003. That's why faculties especially have been working on it for a very long time. But as you saw, I have taught at 16 IIMs, the top 8 IITs. I have taught Power BI there, right? And I insist, right? I tell them, see, if you want Tableau, I'll do it, but I'll not do more than 20% of Tableau, because it's my duty. It's not my right. It's my duty to not teach you the wrong thing. Not to say it's a wrong thing, but to teach you the most appropriate thing. Let's put it like that, right? And Power BI is most important for all of you. Okay, let's clean up a little bit. Hold on. Right, anyway, coming back to Power Query. So you can see that we have 17, 18, 19, 20 combined. But the problem is, how do you do a VLOOKUP? Because you don't have a VLOOKUP in Power Query, right? So how do you combine two different data sets or two different tables together? So I'll show you two different ways of doing it. One is by using something called merge query, which is what you do on SQL or any relational database as well, like MS Access. And the other is how to do it using a model, right? So first, let me go to Excel workbook, and I am going to select desktop, inside IM files 1920, model and customer name. Let me just get some water. I'm really thirsty. Right, so we already have the customer ID, but we don't have the customer name. That is what we want to pick, right? So let me load it in Power Query first. All right, now the first problem that you will notice is that the names are not correct. Yeah, so to answer that question, M is super important because it's there on Excel as well, right? Excel has the limitation, isn't it, of 1048576, which is 1,048,576 rows. Power Query has a limit of 200 crore rows. That is 2 billion. Let me say that once again. Excel has a limit of 1 million, which is 10 lakhs. Power Query has a limit of 2 billion, that is 200 crore. It's like this and this, right? Also, the sort of data cleaning features you have in Power Query, Excel can't match that, right? So you have to learn it. Long story short, you have to learn it. Anyway, if you look at the name here, there is a problem, which is that the position is wrong. It should be Darren Powers Filina over Meg Brown. So it is reversed. We first have the last name and then we have the first name. It should be first name and then the last name. Now, can somebody tell me what should be the formula that we should use to make it Darren Powers Filina over Meg Brown? Generally, like what type of functions do you think we require? You will find a lot of videos on Power Query on my YouTube channel as well, right? See, there is no one website. Whatever is there, I'll keep on adding it to that link on Lucid. You can find it from there, right? Ganesh, Flashfill is not really helpful because Flashfill will not give me a formula. It will give me the result, but I can't control it. If it doesn't give me the correct result, I can't do anything about it. It is not automated. It will not update when I add more records. It's great for one-time tasks, but it is not helpful if I want to create automation, right? So what functions will be required to do this?
Text to column.
Okay, no. Text to column again is a manual. See, try to understand. If I do text to column, let me do that right now. I'm doing split column, then I do by delimiter. Then I say, okay, the comma is the delimiter, and now it will break it into 2 columns. Then again, I have to make another column. I have to combine it. No, we don't want to do all that. That is how we work on Excel. I want to create something which will build a formula. That formula can be changed. It can be manipulated. I can update it. I can add more rows and copy the formula. Text to column is manual. See, today you're doing it with 10 rows. You do text to column, then you do concatenate, then you delete the 2 columns. Tomorrow, when you have 10 more names, what will you do? You will again have to do text to column. You will again write a formula. You will again have to delete it. Do you understand the problem? For one time, it's okay. But when you are working in an organization and you have to do it repeatedly, you want to save time. You don't want to spend time doing the same thing over and over again. So what I will do here is use a little bit of machine learning. It's not actually machine learning, but it's sort of like that. So I will right click and I will say, add column from examples. All right. Now I have to give a few samples here. So I will say, I want Darren. Parse. And in the next one, I want fill in a Uber. How awesome is that? Do you see this, everyone? It has automatically created the formula for you. So it is saying splitter.split text by delimiter. That is the function we are using. And then I'm using text.combine. That is the concatenate we are using. Did you have to learn it? Did you have to Google it? No, it automatically built the formula for you. So any pattern you want, it will recreate that pattern for you. Let me give you one more example. So let me remove the name and let me create a email ID. Okay, please watch. So one more time, I'll say add column from examples. I'll say my ID is d.parse at, let's say, gmail.com. Doesn't work. Let me do it one more time. p.ober@gmail.com. How cool is that? Now you might say, but Havish, this was not difficult. I could have written equal to, you know what I mean, right? Equal to left of B1, comma 1, and dot, and mid mid of B1, find space in B1 plus 1. It's pointless. Why do you want to do all that? Why do you want to put that effort of doing mid and left and right and find when you can automatically create this? Because it is automatically creating the formula for you. See this. Do you see this? Text.lower, adding at Gmail, text.lower, text.start, text.combine. These are not Excel formulas, obviously, but this feature, Power Query, is available on Excel as well. Auto-generated formulas, right? How cool is that? Imagine the amount of time this will save you. Okay. But the original problem was a little different, right? So this is my fact table. So this is my fact sales, and this is my dimension table, which is dimension and ID. Now I need to combine these, right? I have the ID, but I don't know the customer name. How do we do that? 2 ways. Number one, I can go to merge queries, which is like a VLOOKUP, okay? And I want to merge the 2 tables. So I will say, first table is sales, second table is ID, which are the matching columns, customer ID and CID, and I'll go to OK. So it merges the entire table. Now, which are the 2 columns that we want? We would like name and custom, basically the email ID, right? Let me also make this the email so that that's it. It's like a VLOOKUP, and that did not work. Hold on, because one moment. Right, like this. How cool is that? So we have done sort of like a VLOOKUP in Power Query. The other way of doing this would be to use modeling, which is what IT guys use. So I can create a relationship between both the tables like this. Let me just do it one more time. Right, so I can just select my customer ID, drag it like this and put it on customer ID. This creates a virtual model. It creates a relationship between my primary key and my foreign key. Primary key being the dimension table where every ID is coming one time. Foreign key being this, the many table where every customer ID is coming multiple times, right? Any questions on this? I know it's a lot of information I'm giving you, but like I told you on the email, the point was to give you an overview, to expose you to what all Power BI has to offer. I hope the expectation was not that we will become an expert in Power BI in 2 hours. It's not possible. And the idea was not to do 5 small examples in 2 hours, which I could have easily done, and not talk about 99% of the things. The idea was the opposite, to show you everything that is there in Power BI, right? Not everything, but most of it. And obviously do a few examples here and there. So we have done Power Query, we have done DAX. I've shown you how HTML, CSS works. I've shown you inbuilt visuals, custom visuals. I've shown you a little bit of Excel as well, how the add-ins work there, right? Then the other things like InfoRiver, which is an entire software within Power BI. We've also seen that, right? Yeah, and from a dashboard perspective, I told you there are all the links I've shared on Lucid. So you can see icons, images, colors, all of that you can find from there. Any questions or any other thing that you would need from my side? Anyone? var is not a function. Var is just a variable declaration. Let me show you. So the var basically says that I'm declaring a variable, right? In Excel also you can do it. If I can just show you everyone. In Excel, I don't know if you know this or not, but in Excel also variables can be declared. Not in like a programming language, but simple things. Let's take an example. So hold on. Let me first make a dummy table. All right, so what I can do is I want to know the length, okay? So I will say equal to let. Now, what is the name? I will say this is my gender, okay? And gender is D4. And I would like to know my sales, and sales is C4. Now I can write my formula and I can say that if and my gender is equal to male, right? And my sales value is greater than or equal to 5,000, then my result should be yes, otherwise my result should be no. So what are we doing here? We are saying that if gender is male and sales is greater than or equal to 5,000, then the result is yes, otherwise no. So as you can see, I get yes and no here. There's only one yes. But the important part here is that rather than writing D4 and C4, I gave it a variable, a name basically, right? So I said D4 is gender and C4 is sales. So this is my formula that I'm writing. It just makes writing formulas a lot simpler. I have lots of videos on this on my YouTube channel. You should definitely go and have a look at it. If I can just take a moment and show you some more advanced ones here. Look at something like this. 1 second. I just did one yesterday, which was append arrays. Okay, no, not append arrays. It was select range till end. How do I show it to you? Let me show it to you in the formula environment. Okay, I haven't used let here, but anyway, the point here is that Excel has a lot that is changing in it, right? The advanced formula environment literally was introduced 10 days back, right? So it is very new. We are all still exploring it. But the point is that Excel is very different to how it was. You know, if I go back to 25 years back, right? If I go back to 2017 and somebody had told me that in 2022, I will be able to do these types of things in Excel, I would have laughed and said, who are you kidding, right? And it's amazing. And if I think about what more will happen in the next 5 years, God knows what all will happen in the next 5 years, right? Cool. Any other question? Any tool for text analytics? I told you, right? NLTK. NLTK is one of the best libraries for this. I don't know of any others. Yeah. Let me see. I have used Spacey. Spacey is good. I haven't used the others, so I can't really comment on them, but you can just Google it, these NLP libraries. I'll just share the link with you. Some of these might be paid as well, if I'm not mistaken. So document indexing, large corpora, okay. NLTK is the most popular one. I don't think you will need anything more than that. Yeah, Spacey is also good. I've heard of a lot of people who have used Spacey. Cool, what else? Do I suggest SQL BI or Kerbal for learning DAX? It's a very good question. SQL BI is very, very advanced. I don't think you should even attempt to learn from SQL BI unless you have some level of confidence with DAX. Kerbal is a wonderful channel. Ruth is a fantastic teacher, and I think you should definitely go and learn from Kerbal. She's really good. For introductory learning, you can also go to my YouTube channel. See, I have to do a little bit of selfish promotion here, but I have 2 complete videos on Power BI, everyone. The files are not there on YouTube, obviously. For that, you will have to purchase the course, but if you just want to learn, then you can do it. There's a 4-hour course on Power BI that introduces visuals, Power Query, DAX. There's also a 4-hour course on Power BI for finance, right? That specifically focus on financial examples. It has a lot of DAX that has been covered in it. So calculate, filter, all, concatenate X, rank X, all of that has been covered here. Right. But remember, the files haven't been given. Only the video is there. So you won't be able to practice with it. For that, you will have to purchase the course. But yeah, I mean, SQL BI is the best, right, for DAX. And I would suggest you read their book rather than the website. The book is more systematic. So Definitive Guide to DAX is the book. It's the best book for DAX, right? I think it's also available on Amazon I got it from Amazon on discount. I don't know how much it costs now. Yeah, it's a little more expensive. I got lucky. I got it for some 1,500 or something. But this is a one-time investment. I mean, get this. If you want to work, if you feel you'll be working on DAX a lot, this is the holy grail of DAX, right? Definitive Guide to DAX. Great. Any other question? Anyone?
Actually, there are many things to learn, and it's like a bit a personal question, like how one can be disciplined about the learning regarding how to devote the hours of learning. Like we are working people, so how any tips from your end, it will help me.
Yeah, I find that very difficult to answer because I only worked in the corporate for about 2.5 years. After that, I went into academics. I worked in market research with a startup. Then I started my firm. So I have always had a lot of time. I mean, in the sense that I get paid to learn, let's put it like that, right? So in a week, I will be studying and doing online courses for 30 to 40 hours every week. Okay, so I spend a lot of time on learning. But if I have to tell you, I would suggest, I have this, okay, I'll tell you what. Because I want to give you the right answer, okay? Just give me a moment. Because this question gets asked all the time. I'm not saying that my approach is the best approach, but I feel you can benefit from it, right? I don't know how to find it. 1 second. Oh, how will I find it now? Give me a moment. Just hold on. I know it is there somewhere. Okay.
I have seen that video. Yeah.
Is this the one that you've seen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what I follow. I have only said what I do. Like I said, my style works for me. If anybody else is able to benefit from it, I'm happy. But I don't insist that you should do the same thing. But some things that are very important is that you have to, share your learning. So, when you do a course, let's say you do a 2-hour online course, please create a video on it, a 15-minute video, and put it on YouTube. I'll tell you the very important reason for that. What happens is that when we learn, even if we haven't understood it perfectly, we tell ourselves, "Arey, the course is complete. I got my certificate. Let's move on." Right? In our mind, we know we haven't understood it perfectly. Right? It happens with everyone. But when you force yourself to make a video, then you realize that, oh, it's not that easy. You really have to, like I'm doing a session with you. Imagine you ask me questions on my area, and every time I say, I don't know. It will be embarrassing, right? I mean, it's my job to know all these things. So my point is, force yourself to create that YouTube video, and it will help you in another way. By creating a YouTube video, it creates a portfolio. For example, tell me something. When I show you this on my website, and I'm being very honest with you, isn't it impressive? If I just told you that I'm Power BI certified, I've been working on Excel for 18 years, 4 years on Power BI, I work with Fortune 500 companies. Does that even matter to you? No, it doesn't. Unless I can show you what I have done, unless I show you dashboards that I've created, you're not going to really understand my ability, right? The same thing is true for you as well. When I'm putting in so much effort, if you look at GitHub, just look at the amount of effort I'm putting into this, right? See this. Now, directly, how are these things helping me? They are not. Is it helping me earn any revenue for my business directly? Of course not. But I'm doing it because it gives me an opportunity to be systematic, to share my learning, to constantly keep myself motivated, right? It's a myth where people say that people are motivated all the time. No, that's ridiculous. I have a bad day and sometimes I don't feel like working, but then I force myself. I tell myself I have to create 5 dashboards or whatever. I have to create 2 dashboards in the next 1 week. I have to, no matter what, whether I work till 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., I have to make it. No exceptions. And when you give yourself the target, I think things become easier. And in the beginning, you will also feel it's only one thing, it's only 2 things. When I started my first code, do you see this? July 4th, 2021. Please look at this. December. I got very excited. But look at it after that. Now, every 9 hours back, 20 hours back, 21 hours back, 2 days, 8 days, 11 days, 18 days. What more do I tell you? You have to be consistent. We all are busy. We all have things to do. This was a very busy month for me, February. But then you have to do it. You have to do it. It's as simple as that, And the only way to ensure you follow as per your commitment is to catalog it somewhere, write it down somewhere so that you can't cheat yourself, right? Just common sense. Please share the link for what, Shekhar?
Thank you. Thank you, Avish.
Thank you. Great, we have crossed the session time. I hope they were takeaways for all of you. Again, don't feel that just because I've shown you so many things, you have to learn everything. I don't know HTML, CSS, InfoRiver, JavaScript, all that on Power BI. I'm just showing it to you to make you aware. The focus should be on visuals. The focus should be on learning Power Query very well, and then on DAX. So visuals first, second Power Query, third DAX. Everything else is important to know, but don't focus on it right now. But you should know that all these things exist on Power BI, right? Oh, the article, sure. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. And, have a, okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was a Sunday. But yeah, I think have a good day, whatever is left of it, and have a great week. I will be sharing the recording. I have your email IDs. So once the session is over, I'll share the recording with you. Right? Great. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.